Hello, and welcome to this episode of Be the Wolf. Today, I am going to talk about needy, demanding, and cheap clients. I want to show you how to stop attracting those kinds of customers. We've all had them. That customer, that client who is never happy, no matter how much you do for them. They always want discounts. They always are looking to get something extra. They want special attention. They are just needy. They call you at all hours of the night and the weekends. And even when you do everything they want, they are still not happy. So, why is it that these customers, these type of clients keep finding you? And how can you stop attracting them? How can you make them go away? Obviously, without hurting them, right? Okay, so we're going to dive deep into this. So put on your pay attention hats and really listen to what I'm saying, because there's some deep information in here today that is going to hopefully give you some ahas that will help you shift out of attracting these clients, and at the very least help you to be able to fire these clients without freaking out and worrying about the money. Okay, so first, I want to break down the psychology of this kind of customer. And I want to tell you why they are so needy and why they are cheap. Okay, are you ready? Now, needy and cheap customers, they tend to worry a lot about money. They are worried that they either don't have enough, they're not going to have enough, and they don't trust, because of whatever circumstances in their life, they don't trust that they will have enough money in the future. So they have a scarcity mindset. They're always worried about not enough, and they're afraid of what they're going to lose. It's hard for them to spend money because they're afraid of losing that money, because that money represents security to them. They're afraid to take leaps because they're afraid of what they might lose. If I spend all my money, maybe I won't have enough money for rent. Maybe I won't be able to pay my bookkeeper, whatever it is that they're worried about not having enough for. So they're afraid of not having enough, and they're afraid of losing things. So if they do this, if they work with you, if they put out the money, they take the risk, and it fails or they don't get what they want, they're constantly thinking about what they're going to lose and what's going to go wrong. And they'll feel guilty spending money on something that doesn't work. So if your product doesn't work, they're going to beat themselves up about it, about how they should have known better. And they worry a lot about people screwing them over. So they're always on the lookout for a scam. They're always looking to validate that you're not going to screw them over. So that's part of their mindset. They have this scarcity mindset. They are worried about the money. They're worried about not having enough. They're worried about what they're going to lose. They're worried about what's going to go wrong. And they're worried that people are going to screw them over. So that's what's going on in their mind. And this is happening long before they work with you. It's happening while they're working with you. And depending on what you do for them, maybe you can help them out with that. But you might not be a coach or a therapist or a mindset person, so you may or may not be able to help them out with that. But they also worry, and this is a big one, they worry that they're not good enough or they're not capable of getting the results you promise. So we hear a lot, right? You see all the memes and you see the personal development people. They're always talking about people feeling like they're not deserving, like they're not worthy, like they're not enough. Well, needy and cheap clients tend to feel like they're not enough, and they tend to feel and worry that they're not capable of getting results on their own. And because of this, they need someone to hold their hand every step of the way. They second guess themselves, they doubt themselves, they're afraid that they'll screw it up. So they constantly need help and someone to show them how to do even the simplest things, the things that you're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? You can't type in a phone number without a parentheses? Like, oh, geez. But they need someone to show them how to do those simple things. And they need to be validated because they don't feel like they're enough. They need to be filled up with somebody saying, yes, you're doing great. Yes, that is the right way. Yes, do it this way and it will be right. They really worry about doing it the wrong way. And that leads me into them constantly thinking about all the things that might go wrong. So remember, this is all going on in your client or your customer's mind. It's happening at a subconscious level and it's happening all the time. It's creating all this stress inside of them. And these are some of the underlying things that lead them to being those needy and terrible clients that nobody really wants to work with. You're telling yourself, like, oh my God, I don't know if the money is worth it. So these clients, these needy and cheap clients, they're also thinking about all the things that might go wrong. And when they do this, their brain will spiral and spin 14 steps ahead about something that might go wrong once they have something that they aren't even close to having, but they need to have it all figured out now before those 14 steps that they have to take before they would even need it. So they're constantly thinking about what might go wrong in the future, and they spiral into these what ifs, and they don't know how to stop the emotional spiral. And so they reach out to you, right? The person they hired to help them. So that you can prove to them somehow that it's going to be okay, or give them a solution for that problem that's 14 steps away that they might not even need once they get there. And then finally, you do things different than they would. And so because you're doing something different than the way they would, it makes them nervous. And they probably actually hired you because you do things differently than they do, because for whatever reason, they're not able to do what you do. And so they hired you. But because you think differently and you do things differently than they would, it makes them nervous. And it sometimes can make them feel like they're less than. Remember that not enough thing. And so then what they'll do oftentimes is to get rid of that nervous, uncomfortable feeling. They'll tell you what they think you should do and how you could make it better. They'll point out your mistakes. I know we've all had this, and sometimes, it doesn't feel that great when someone's like, "Oh, you know what you should do? You should do this, this, and this." But you have a system set up and your system is working great. And so all this does is just annoy you. You're like, "I don't need to do that." But because they're trying to lessen their nervousness because you're doing things in a way that they wouldn't do it, they it makes them feel better to point out the mistakes. It makes them feel like they might know something more, and it makes them feel less insecure. And sometimes if you're doing things differently than they would, they can't see how your way could actually work. So they need you to handhold them and explain every little thing because they feel very uncomfortable stepping into the unknown. And that's pretty common. I think so many people out there feel uncomfortable stepping into the unknown. So I think that's a pretty relatable one. But now I want you to just take a moment and notice, what did you notice about all of these things? All of these things, these reasons why the needy clients and customers are not great. What is it that you notice about all of these reasons why they're needy and cheap? So, none of those reasons have anything to do with you or your product. They're not about you. The reasons are about the client's internal stresses and fears. So, the needy clients feel internal stress and fear. So, they reach out to you to try to make it better. They're reaching out to something outside of them to try and make them feel better. And so, is it your job to assuage their fears? Depending on what your company does, it could be. But the other thing I want you to notice is that maybe you have some of those same internal stresses and fears. Do you worry about money? Do you worry about not having enough money? Do you worry about what you might lose instead of what you might gain when you take a leap? Do you feel guilty if you spend money on things that don't work? Do you worry about people taking advantage of you or screwing you over? Maybe you worry that you're not good enough or not capable of delivering the results that you promise. And maybe there have been times where you needed someone to handhold you every step of the way, where you second guessed and doubted yourself, afraid that you might screw things up. Needed that extra validation, somebody to say, yes, you're doing it right. Or maybe you're constantly spinning about all the things that might go wrong, spiraling into those what ifs. And maybe it makes you feel uncomfortable when people do things in a different way than the way you do them. So if you notice that you have some of those same internal stresses and fears as the needy and cheap clients, now I'm not saying you're a needy and cheap client or customer, but if you have some of those same internal stresses and fears, I have some bad news for you. Like attracts like. So those people who have those internal stresses and fears tend to attract and bond and connect with other people that have similar stresses and fears. If you just think about politics, for example, we tend to gravitate towards people who think similarly to us. We tend to create a tribe of people that are like minded. And we do this subconsciously. We're not even really aware of it. We tend to want to be around people who are like us. And it feels a little uncomfortable and unnerving to be around people who are maybe have their shit together more than we do. And so a lot of times, those needy and cheap clients will tend to gravitate to you if you have some of those internal stresses and fears, those feelings of not being enough or worrying about money. There is a comfortability that makes people want to step into engaging with you because they can sense that there is a similarity. And so when this happens, you end up with clients that have those internal stresses and fears. And what also happens is when you're going through the process of selling them, or they're looking at your social media or trying to get a feel for you, whether they want to buy your product, they're subconsciously tracking for signs that you're going to be someone that eases their worries, that will bend over backward, that will handhold and even do the work for you. And they're not consciously aware of this usually. It's just a feeling that they have that they'll feel a little more safe with you. Whereas somebody that won't do that, that won't handhold, that draws really hard boundaries, that needy client is not going to feel comfortable working with them because they're not going to feel safe because that person isn't going to pick them up, carry them, hold them like a baby. So, again, if you have any of those similar internal fears that the needy client has, they're going to be drawn to you. They're going to feel safe with you. And you have mechanisms in the way that you deal with if somebody's doubting you or your product. You would probably bend over backwards to try to assuage them and make them feel secure. And that makes a needy client know that you're going to bend over backward for them. It's not even necessarily about the specific thing, but the fact that you're bending over backward to really make them feel safe and comfortable buying your product tells them that you're willing to do that. And this, again, is happening at a subconscious level. It's not something people are really highly conscious of. But now that you know, you can start to be conscious of it. So if somebody is really questioning your product, do you take the bait? Do you take the bait and sit there and dive into over explaining about why your product is the best for them? Or do you just let it sit? Do you let it sit and let the sale go? Do you just let it go? Don't take the bait. See what that feels like. They're going to walk away because they don't believe that your product will do what they want it to. And can you just let it go? Or do you feel that need to overcompensate? Now, you can, of course, explain to them all the reasons why your product is going to work for them. But if you are doing that from a fear of losing the sale, they're going to feel that thing that makes them drawn to you. Oh, this person's going to bend over backwards for me. This person, I have some sort of control in this relationship because they feel insecure now. And I feel that gives me some power. So this dynamic is one of the dynamics that keeps them attracted to you. So you have to be willing to just let go of the sale. If they want something that you don't offer, you can choose to offer it if it doesn't take anything from you, if it's not a burden to you. But if they want things that you don't offer, do you feel like the need to bend over backwards and make it happen for them? Or are you willing to just let it go? If they want a discount, do you question whether you should give them a discount or are you willing to let go of the sale? If they want you to include a bunch of extras for free, are you willing to let go of the sale? That's the key here. You have to be willing to let go of the sale and not be attached to the outcome. If you're worrying about money, if you're feeling like you maybe aren't good enough or your product isn't good enough, you're not going to be willing to let go of the sale. And if you're not willing to let go of the sale, you're definitely going to end up with more clients that are difficult to work with, that are needy and cheap, that are going to run you ragged. Now, if you are willing to let go of the sale, that's easy. You tell them what they need to know, but they buy or they don't. And either way is okay with you. When you're at that place, and also you have no trouble holding boundaries about when you answer telephone calls or texts or emails. You can let those ride until the next business day without feeling this panic inside. You can say no when they ask too much, or you can ask for more money when they ask for too much. When you can just return their money and let them go as a client. These are all good signs that you are going to be attracting better clients, because when you can do these things, you're not worried about what you're going to lose. You're thinking about what you'll gain, right? Drawing those boundaries, saying no, returning them their money and letting them go, letting go of the sale. You're thinking about what you'll gain. Things like peace of mind, more free time, more energy to work with the clients and the customers that you love. You're not worried about the small amount of money you're going to lose by losing this one customer, because you know that by letting go of this customer, you're going to get peace of mind, free time, more energy. And that is all going to keep you in a more positive state, which will allow the clients that you like to find you and connect with you, keep you out of that worried and similarly needy and sheep energy. You will know when you're at this place where you stop attracting the needy clients. You will, one of the things you'll experience is you'll know that there's plenty of clients out there for you. You won't overextend yourself financially buying a bunch of things you don't need. And you know that you could replace the income you lose from those needy clients with somebody who's aligned with you and your business. Now, I do have to tell you that there is a transition period a lot of times between the attracting needy clients and attracting great clients. And sometimes it's almost like a test. It's like the universe is testing you or something. Are you sure? Are you sure you're going to double down and really go for the great clients who are a good fit? Or are you going to fall back into that scarcity mindset and take those needy clients and say yes to them, even when you know in your gut that it's not a good fit? So you'll have these opportunities in the transition period where you'll have maybe a really great client and then another needy client. Your job is to be able to say no to the needy client, to be able to draw those boundaries, to say, I'm sorry, this isn't a great fit, and let the sale go without freaking out. And when you get to the point where you stop freaking out about the money, you stop freaking out about what you're going to lose, you stop second guessing and doubting yourself and your product, that's when the clients you love will start to come in. And of course, you'll still have opportunities to work with needy clients, but it's just not a fit. And not many of them will want to work with you because you'll be coming off with this confidence about what you do and what you provide. And so they will either step up to the plate because they will feel so safe with you that they don't have to feel needy and be a pain in the ass and be cheap. So that's one way they will rise to your level. Or the ones who are really needy and cheap will not even, they won't feel comfortable with you. Just being in your presence makes them feel uncomfortable. So they won't buy from you anyway. So when you up level your internal stresses and your internal issues, you will start to see the results by attracting a different type of clientele. When you do this, when you eliminate those stresses, you are expanding your success zone. You may have heard me talk about this before, but your success zone is what indicates how much success you're going to have. And if you have a whole bunch of needy clients, you're not going to have a lot of success because you're not going to have time to expand your business. You're going to be stuck constantly using so much of your free time and energy to deal with these people because you're so worried about losing the money, losing the little bit of income that they're giving you. So, eliminating those internal stresses about the money, about having difficult conversations, about saying no, about starting to think about what you will gain instead of what you will lose. Think about all the things that will go right. When you start to eliminate the stress and move your mindset more into this abundance mindset instead of the scarcity mindset, or I like to say prosperity, right? Because we can have an abundance of shit. But prosperity really denotes that we're thriving, right? That there is overflow of the things that we want. So when you start to move from that scarcity mindset into that prosperity mindset, who you attract and the clients that work with you, they will show up differently. So you'll attract better clients, and the ones who might be needy in some circumstances will feel so safe and so secure with you that they will show up as their best self. They will rise to meet you where you are at. So again, we've got to be able to let go of those wrong fit clients without freaking out about the money. You didn't go into business for yourself to be stuck with just the scraps. You went into business so you could enjoy the feast, so you could enjoy the entrepreneurial life that you are trying to create. And that is one of prosperity. It is one of ease and fun and flow and all of those things that you dreamed about, getting your product, your service out there and having a good time doing it, having the flexibility in your life to create what you want. There's plenty of customers out there for you. There are so many people out there for you. We've got to just figure out how to speak to them and how to show up in a way that they have complete and total trust in you. And that begins with you having complete and total trust in you, in yourself, knowing that the money's going to be there, that you're going to be taken care of, believing that deep down to your bones, because what you believe becomes your reality. I hope that today you all have a better idea of what you need to do to stop attracting those needy and cheap clients. It all starts with you. And I have a free guide for you that's called Grow Your Business and Love Doing It. And it's got 3 secrets the business gurus never talk about, but it really talks about getting to the core of some of these internal stresses and fears that keep you in that hamster wheel of chasing the money, chasing the clients, putting up with the difficult and needy and cheap clients and not getting your business to the next level where you deserve it to be. You can find that. You can find that free guide at bethewolfgift.com. So open up your browsers, everybody. bethewolfgift.com. And you can download that free guide from me. And you'll also get on my mailing list. You'll get access to information about how to expand your success zone and increase your joy at work, at life too. And yeah, thank you so much for listening today, and go forth and be strong within yourself. Trust that the right clients are out there for you. And there is so much prosperity waiting for you. And remember, everybody, when you unleash the power of you, humanity evolves. We'll see you next time on Be the Wolf. Goodbye, everyone.